Hey, good afternoon. This is Michael Clegg from the QWorks Group, and today we are going to talk about the bad boss. Now, on a serious note, this is assuming that this is a recoverable type of situation, not something that's more serious in nature. But what we're going to talk about are a couple things that you can do to take action to improve your situation. Identifying if it's a style issue. For example, is the individual direct, overly direct, or potentially passive aggressive? We also have to look at, is it potentially an avoidance of change? In often cases, it's a tough one to answer. You have to look in the mirror and identify, are there things that you're doing potentially that can be corrected? And in some cases, it's a little bit of both. But the first item that you can do in regards to helping your personal situation with your boss is, do you know what's important to them? Do you know their motivators? What are their goals? Do you know what their boss's expectations for them? Or more importantly, do you have their expectations for you? Is there clarity in your particular role? The second thing that we can do is to identify areas of how we can support them. If you don't have the answer, simply ask them. Hopefully there's a level of communication that is happening that is consistent with building a relationship in the workplace. Now, if it's infrequent communication, that certainly could be one of the major issues, because as humans, the larger the gap is between the communication, we start putting things in to fill that gap. Meaning, we potentially could be putting things that are our perceptions of the situation in to fill that communication or the lack of communication that's happening. And oftentimes, this is where we create situations in our mindset that simply just isn't happening. Remember, perception is reality. Do we have a good understanding of what they're good at? Their areas of strengths. Because ultimately, if we can help them succeed, by default, we're going to succeed along with them. Now, the third and final item, time to address the situation. Oftentimes, this could be the most difficult thing that you're going to do in the workplace. Not everyone can have a difficult conversation, but it's a necessary one, because you have to give your boss a chance to explain themselves. Let them address the perceptions that we mentioned earlier, potentially that's coming due to an infrequent level of communications. All of these perceptions that you have in your mind, or these stories that you've made up in your mind potentially, could easily be rectified. But it also gives you an opportunity to address how you feel undervalued. Because what if that comes as a total surprise to your boss? Boss thinks that you're highly valued and that you're happy. Also of note, and this goes without saying, but I feel like this should be said, make sure there's no water cooler talk, meaning you're complaining or talking with other coworkers about the situation. This is something, if you rectify the entire situation and things can be fixed and certainly are recoverable, and this is something that comes out later, could be very damaging to the relationship. So make sure that you keep some of these things to yourself, or a trusted person or confidant that you have in the organization. But personally, I would say just keep these things to yourself. If this is a situation that potentially is starting to become more of a hostile work environment due to having this conversation, and you're having some what you feel are retaliatory type of behaviors from your boss, then you need to go see human resources before you make the decision that it's time to leave. And ultimately, at the end of the day, no job is worth the stress and anxiety that comes from having a bad boss. Address it head on. Go in with great intent of rectifying the situation, and I think ultimately you'll come out with a very successful response. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Please feel free to like our video or leave comments and share. Very important as we continue to grow our content. Hopefully we're helping people out there, and we appreciate all the feedback. Have a great day.